everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Corinne Elizabeth. She is a trauma informed mindset and emotional well being coach and also certified eutaptics, faster EFT practitioner. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. I did practice.
Mhm.
So we'll talk a lot more about her work and everything else in between. So the full bio will be at the end of this video. So for now, Corinne, I have this question that I usually ask everyone from the get-go.
Mhm.
So I'll ask you too. In your own words, who is Corinne as of now?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have. I'm grateful for the opportunity. In terms of who I am, I'm a lifelong learner who's constantly growing, constantly evolving. I've been on a self-healing journey for many years, a journey of kind of coming home to my true self.
Yeah.
And my kind of greatest passion in the world is really helping people access the truest version of themselves so they can really thrive and live in alignment with their kind of most authentic desires. And in terms of my work and what I do, I'm, like you said, a mindset and emotional wellbeing coach. My work is very much centered around root cause healing, and I use a kind of mind body somatic based approach for that.
Ah, that's wow, we have so much to talk about today.
Yeah.
Because the theme of this platform is the freedom to feel, and it is for a reason, because that's how I
Mhm.
felt that I was for so long, kind of try not to feel and afraid of my own feelings and
Yeah.
emotions for so long, body mind complex, just fighting one another.
Mhm.
So, and then now my approach has been always spirituality. For some reason, I tried therapy for very
Mhm.
short time, and then immediately I knew that my path was not that one. It would be spirituality. So I
Mhm.
took so many kinds of different views on that, and now it is Vedanta non-duality approach. So,
Mhm.
but that's another conversation, I would say. Although I keep smuggling a little bit of non-duality here.
Mhm.
Uh, but for now, the question for you is what is freedom? Not even from the perspective only of feelings and emotions, but what it comes to you when you think about freedom, about being free, truly free.
Yeah, I think for me, freedom comes from really being free from our past, free from our experiences and the pain and the challenges we've been through. A lot of the work I've been doing with FasterEFT is very much learning about the unconscious mind. So even though we've had these experiences and we tend to shut them away and not want to feel, as you say, they're still there in the background and they're very much controlling how we show up in the world, what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about other people. So to me is having that ability to kind of take ownership, take responsibility for our healing, and knowing when we're operating from these kind of past selves, the false selves, and breaking free from that, and really being truly free. And again, it comes back to accessing the true self as well, because I feel that part of us is truly free. That's the infinite part of us.
That's true, Corinne. And that's how
Mhm.
it feels to me that I had to, the idea was to access what was free already in me so I
Yeah,
could be open and to heal what needed to be healed. And that's
yeah.
what it is a journey now, actually. So, another open question I have for you is about this idea of the true self, our true
Mhm.
nature. What does it feel
Yeah.
like to be in that space?
So to me, the true self is that part of us that is infinite, that is divine. It's the deepest core of us, that kind of light within, that divine spark. It's the intuitive part of us. It's the part that is so wise and has all the answers that we need. And again, like I was saying before, we often lose track of that true self. As children, we're a lot more connected to it. We're very playful, very curious. We've been less influenced from the world around us. So we're a lot more in tune with that true self. But then as we go through the world, we have experiences, we're influenced from our environment. We develop more and more of these kind of coping mechanisms, survival strategies, false selves, and we lose track of that kind of true self within us. So what I do in my work, it's kind of about peeling back these layers, the layers of the false self, almost like layers of an onion,
Yeah.
peeling them back, safely identifying what part isn't the true self, and doing it with compassion, knowing this is simply a part of us that's trying to keep us safe. It's acting in alignment with what we hold within, peeling that back and uncovering our truest essence. And again, we can do that ourselves. We can connect to that part of us that feels aligned. We've all had these moments where time stands still and we feel completely in the moment. We feel lit up. Maybe we're doing something creative, or we're in nature, or we're doing work that really fulfills us. These are the times where we are in alignment with the true self. So I think a lot of it is part of kind of connecting with that self, really connecting with ourselves deeply and noticing what part of me is acting from the true self and what part is maybe acting from a survival pattern or a coping mechanism. And then nourishing that true self, connecting with that true self, and listening to the true self, because this
Mm.
is where the intuition comes from as well. This is where the inner guidance comes from.
Yes, that's very much true. So it seems like an ongoing work then, right, Corinne? It's a practice for life in a way. Or would you
Oh
say,
gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
this? Yeah,
Yeah, I really believe. I mean, I've been on the self-healing path for many years, and I'm in a great place now, but it's always unfolding. There's always new layers to uncover. And this is what I was saying about the layers of the onion.
yeah,
We might
yeah.
have a trigger that comes up or something, and we think, wow, this has revealed another layer to be healed, to be looked at, to be kind of accessed. And, life's a journey. We go through different seasons in our life. So it's about, honoring where we are now, and gaining the lessons as we go along. There's always more to be uncovered, and I think it's really about coming home to ourselves. That's part of the journey of life, of discovering who are we at our core, and living from that place.
That's true. Beautifully said. It sounds very spiritual to me, I have to say, everything you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Do you put actually a label to it? Do you call it spirituality as well? The integration of psychology and spirituality, or only psychology with the flavor?
Yeah, it's very interesting because in the work that I do, I've definitely got two sides of myself that I bring together. I've got the kind of practical, logical side. I've always been very much interested in psychology and how the mind works and that kind of thing. I also have a very, very spiritual side. And so in the work that I do, and I guess the way I go through life as well, I kind of combine these two sides: the practical, the logical,
Yeah,
knowing about how the mind works, why we logically have certain patterns, but then also that spiritual side, which I believe is the true self. That's very much spiritual. It's very much connecting, like I said, that divine spark within us, and accessing that intuition. And again, it's that inner wisdom. We all have the answers within, I believe, and it's about peeling back those layers and uncovering more and more of that true self. And the more you do of that, I believe that that guides you through life, because you start to trust yourself more. You start to trust your intuition, to trust life.
yes, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you got me thinking about trusting. I remember not trusting my own body in my mind for so long.
Hmm.
Like I know it was not coming from that place of intuition that you speak of the true,
Hmm.
our true nature. So it was coming from trauma. So I was constantly being formed by trauma and making bad decisions all the time. And then at some point, I couldn't trust my own decisions. And that was an interesting time of my life where everything shifted. It seems like it has to get really bad before it gets it gets better in a way. It's not like, I mean, it doesn't sound too happy to say that, but it has been
Hmm.
my own experience. So from your own experience, do you also feel that way, that sometimes suffering helps us to open up to this new door that leads us to that infinite and unlimited self that's always there. It was never
Yeah.
elsewhere, it was
Hmm.
always here, but we can't see
Yeah.
it. So talk to me about suffering and open up to that.
I do believe that. I mean, I believe there's so many ways to learn and grow in the world that don't necessarily need to involve suffering. But I believe when we have these real hardships, these challenges, we're experiencing the contrast of life, um, these are the times where they're often the catalyst, for a lot of growth, a lot of soul searching. it's in these dark times where we often hit a rock bottom,
Yeah.
where we really have that desperation to change something, and we start to go on this journey within. That was definitely my experience as well.
Yeah.
All where I am today has come from a lot of my own challenges.
Yeah.
Losing my mum, that was my big spiritual awakening that helped me connect with spirit and actually really cement my spiritual side and really help get that connection. And then going through various different kind of chronic health issues and having anxiety. And it was in those rock bottom moments that I kind of had to really look at my life and be like, this is so awful that I've got to change something. And I went on that soul searching journey. So, yeah, I do believe that the suffering, it's kind of like you were saying about duality earlier. It's like the light and the dark, the good and the bad. It's the contrasting experiences. It's almost like we need to somehow go through that darkness to then experience the light, to really find that true self and have that gratitude as well.
Yes, that's true, Corinne. So, do you actually think that this is the almost the design of life in a way to be here, go through this human experience, and to suffer, to finally go back, to return home, as you said. I love the way you said that, just going back home. Or this is something that it's actually from ignorance. Most of us are not in touch with. We're actually ignoring, not in a pejorative way. So I say ignorance, not in a way of ignoring what's true, what
Mhm.
is already here, always here. So how do you feel about that? The design being a design or ignorance?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's kind of so many levels to it and things like that. But I do believe that you know, the part of the purpose in life is learning and growth and evolution. And like we were just saying, suffering is a part of that. It's like we come here to experience all of the different, human emotions and the pain, the love, the experiences, all of it. And I believe that it's part of the evolution of the soul. We learn these experiences, we come back and do it again, and we keep learning, keep evolving. In terms of kind of ignorance and things like that, I do believe there's many different levels of consciousness. People are at different stages in their development. There's a lot of trauma, on the planet that's been passed down from generation to generation, which is maybe why there's so many people operating out of ignorance. um so again, it all
Yeah.
comes from, will these certain people evolve in time and learn certain lessons? I'm not sure. I mean, there's certain things that are so horrendous, I just can't make sense of that with my kind of logical mind. There's certain things that I just really can't understand.
Yes.
But again, we don't kind of have all the answers, on this kind of physical level. So,
That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah, that is true. And I often wonder because I see the work I do, the work you do, with so many people that I connect with, amazing human beings,
yeah.
and I still see a lot of suffering around me, my own
Mhm.
family, and then and I wonder how what can I do to help? But it seems like it's like you said, it's on their own time. You can't really rush the
Yeah.
process of evolution as
Yeah.
you see this whole picture. That was one of my questions, like how come, how can we be already perfect and then come into imperfection and trying to find perfection? Doesn't make any sense. And then the answer from the spiritual teachings that I kind of, I mean, that I love for some reason, I'm very attracted to, it's that it never happened really, that this is a dream. So it's a dream-like
Mm,
reality,
mm.
and we are just kind of going through all this. It seems like an experience, but it's really it's like a dream. We wouldn't really know that we were that the dream was not real if when we are in it. We don't know. We have
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
we have no idea. So if we spend our whole lives dreaming, we wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. Exactly. It feels very much real when we're here experiencing it all. But
Yes.
that's what I believe as well. When we kind of leave this physical earth, we're kind of going home, and that's really, our true home. We're spiritual beings having a human experience rather than the other way around. That's kind of my belief.
Yes, yes. And I know you just mentioned going home somewhere after perhaps we lose the body, but I do believe we can find that here, Corinne. The way
Yeah,
you said was
absolutely.
beautiful, going back
Mhm,
home here now, so it is
mhm.
accessible. It
Yeah.
feels to me that way. So let me see. I want to ask you another question before we dive into inner child healing and the other
Mhm.
topics. Another open question about happiness and success. How do you
Mhm.
view these two concepts these days? What is happiness and what is success to you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's different for everyone, and this is what I always ask my clients, because people will say, "Oh, I want to be successful. I want to be happy." And I will always say to them, "What
Yeah.
does that look like for you?" What happiness means for one person is very different from the other. What success means for one person is very different from the other. And to me, it comes back to that true self. It comes back to, when am I feeling my most joy? What are my values? What's most important to me? How do I want to live my life? What's my purpose in this world? So it all again comes back to the true self, and it's very much individual.
So happiness and success is not something that we can define for all of us collectively.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It feels like we're all looking for that, right, Corinne? We're all trying to get to
Yeah,
that place of, to be happy more
mhm,
often, all the time, um, and peaceful. I always usually think about peace more than happiness. It's my reference
yeah,
because if I'm peaceful, then happiness can arise. I have experienced that,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah. I'm kind of the same as well, because I do a lot of mindfulness, a lot of kind of being in the present moment, and from that place, I feel like it's very easy to get into that kind of sense of peace.
yes.
Yeah, and I guess the joy I connect, happiness, I connect more with that childlike part of us, the fun, the adventure, and that type of thing.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Mhm.
that. Speaking of, I know the topic, the next one's inner child healing. So, what would be the difference between uh, the child that it's still, let's say, the inner child that has not been healed, and the childlike human nature, the one you speak of being playful?
Yeah, I mean, these parts of us are very much both the inner child.
Yeah,
But the wounded inner child is the part of us that kind of developed the coping mechanisms. And I mean, when we're children, we're at our most vulnerable. Our emotional brains are developing. We're very dependent on the people around us. So we're very much influenced from the environment we live in. This is how we develop our beliefs, our emotional coping skills, our, behavioral patterns and things like that, survival patterns as well. So a lot of us experiencing these wounds as children, maybe we don't feel lovable, we don't feel seen or heard, we're scared or whatever it is. So these parts kind of reside within us. It's kind of a part of our consciousness where this kind of wounded inner child resides. And the playful parts of us are also connecting to our inner child as well. They're connecting to that real kind of innocence and wonder and kind of curiosity that we have.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and in terms of the wounded inner child, we can connect with that part of us simply by, closing our eyes and imagining us as a child. Seeing what comes
yeah.
up in your mind eye,
Mhm,
noticing, you know,
mm,
what do you feel, what do you see, listening as well. And it's when you actually tune into that part of you, it's very childlike what will come up. It might be, I'm scared, I don't feel loved, or whatever. It's very kind of childlike phrases, and we can be there. We can connect with that part of us as the wise adult that we are, and let them know that they're safe. It's okay. I'm here for you now, and nourish and nurture that part of us. So I think developing that connection with the inner child is really important. And again, connecting with the fun side of us as well. Like you were saying, having fun, getting out and doing things that connect us with that inner child. As adults, we become very serious, and we quite often forget about that kind of fun for the sake of having fun. Fun without having to achieve something. So that's really important as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of reparenting. I heard that term before,
yeah,
right? Reparenting
yeah,
ourselves.
exactly.
And also, I like the idea that we can bring that together, the wisdom and innocence. I remember that I
Yeah.
interviewed somebody recently about masculinity. He only helps men, and he talked about mature masculinity and how that was important for men to kind of grow out of the Peter Pan like syndrome,
Mhm.
and but not to forget the childlike element, the playfulness.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Mhm.
growing a Peter Pan that's grown up, but it still has that the nature of innocence and playfulness is still there. That
Yeah.
he doesn't leave that behind. So that was kind of beautiful to hear that. And I guess that applies for women too, everybody, right, Corinne? Not just
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone needs to keep this fun and childlike and play side. It's so important. Like I was saying, life, can get very serious. We go through a lot of challenges, it can be painful, but keeping that fun, childlike element, really just makes a difference to our own well-being,
Mm.
our own joy, our own kind of how we show up in the world and just how we go through life.
Yes, yeah. So there's aspect of honesty when I feel that way, and I notice that now more often I'm doing like looking at people's children for some reason, adults, everybody around me, my husband and everybody else, almost like because it might be the way I'm looking at myself a lot of times, like
Mhm.
with compassion. And then when I see adults kind of too serious or suffering because the content of their own minds, then I kind of picture them
Mhm.
as a child, like, that
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
that helps me in a way kind of understand and get closer to them for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually something we do in my work with FasterEFT because, I know we're going to kind of go on to this, but it's all about making peace with
Ah,
everyone that we hold within us and memories and things like that. And a lot of people find it difficult, very difficult to forgive and make peace with certain people. And then when I ask them to look at them as a small child, and seeing that vulnerable side to them, and they really start to realize, wow, they were hurting too. And it helps kind of break that down and understand that other person, and maybe why they reacted the way they did and acted the way they did.
yes. So
Mm.
do you think this is coming from us doing our own inner work in a way, becoming, like you said, more at peace with the parts in ourselves? And then now when we see externally people acting, behaving a certain way, we automatically kind of display this. I mean, we can call it compassion, but to me, that's understanding, isn't it? Understanding comes before compassion.
I think it comes down to we're becoming more self-aware.
Yeah.
We're becoming more aware of ourselves and other people, practicing non-judgment, that compassionate approach. This is something, I've been doing with mindfulness, just really trying to lead from a place of non-judgment and just kind of,
Ah.
understand, and things like that with compassion.
Yeah, I know we call it also empathy, but it's the same thing, isn't it?
Mhm.
Empathy,
Yeah,
compassion.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that resonates true to me. The more we heal ourselves, then it's easier to carry that on and kind of I don't know. It's in a way healing ourselves. It is in a way it is healing others as well. It feels that way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I really believe one of the greatest things we can do as human beings is heal ourselves, heal our own wounds, because
Yeah,
the way we show up in the world is going to be so different. The way we respond to people is going to be so different, and people will take that on. People are not always ready to do healing at the same time as you, like you were saying with family and things like that. Sometimes I tell people about what I'm doing, and they just kind of they're almost a bit scared of it, because I'm addressing these very kind of deep
yeah,
rooted things, and some people aren't ready at that point. But the more you can heal yourself, you're showing up differently, you're leading by example, you're going through life differently. People notice that, and it has a knock on effect to everyone around you.
yeah, and it does. It
Mhm.
very much does. I've seen it around me. It's amazing how my husband he behaves in a way. It's almost like, oh, I see this behavior me doing this. Like last week, I was acting in a, telling the truth, but in a kind way, and then I see him doing that too, mimicking, and I was just, I just hope not for that not to be just a mimicking thing, trying to give
Yeah,
back. But
yeah,
it seems like it's he's understanding how important it is to be gentle. It that's because it's one of my values, one of my highest values, kindness. It's
yeah. And it's very interesting because a lot of the work I've done when I've done inner work around a certain relationship or a certain person, and I've kind of healed that within me. I've made
Yeah,
peace with things within me.
yeah.
They haven't done anything, but then the relationship has actually changed because I'm probably showing up differently. And it might be so subtle that I don't even realize it, but actually I'm like, wow, they're responding to me so differently. And the relationship's actually changed from me doing the work. So it's really amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk about a bit more. I know you just mentioned, I mentioned in the beginning, you just mentioned now again, the faster EFT. How does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a healing modality, basically. It was developed by someone called Robert Gene Smith, who basically over 40 years studied the mind, spirituality, all kind of different healing, um, tools, and has brought them together. And the modality's got elements of kind of hypnosis, NLP, mindfulness, neuroplasticity, and somatic healing as well. And it's all about changing how we hold memories within ourselves, changing the structure of the memories within our mind, because the past is over. We can't change what really happened to us,
Right.
but we can change the way we hold it within ourselves. And if you think about the way all of the different patterns we have, the behaviors, the responses, these are created out of what we experience in life. So when we have painful memories and traumas and various different things, we create our belief systems in the world, limiting beliefs, limiting behaviors, all in alignment with keeping us safe, because that's how the mind works. So it's all about working with the unconscious mind using, neuroplasticity, which is the mind's kind of natural ability to reorganize and restructure itself. And we do that as well, incorporating the body using somatic techniques. We use acupressure tapping, meridian tapping, similar to EFT, and various different kind of somatic techniques. And it's all about kind of noticing the memory, feeling and associating to the memories, however you represent that. Sometimes it's not even a visual, it might be a sensation in the body, it might be a sound, it might be a belief, an emotion, however we represent that, associating to that, and then using the various different techniques to kind of reduce the emotional effect within the body. And we're kind of going in and out of trance. When we visit a memory, it's kind of a trance, and we're coming out of that trance by using a positive state, like an anchor, throughout the session as well. So we're very much bringing people kind of in and out of the negative situation into a good one, building resources of safety within the body, and using again somatic techniques, which very much works on the mind body connection, creating kind of harmony within our nervous system, relaxing our body and our mind, and things like that. And it really is incredible how this work works. I've had so many difficult memories that I couldn't even talk about. They were so difficult. It would just bring up so much emotions and so much hurt. And now when I think about those memories, they have no emotional charge. And in fact, I see them very differently within my mind. It's like we practice a thing called re-imprinting memories, so that how is happening now in our mind is how we would have rather it happened instead. And like I said, of course, the past happened the way it did, but it's how we're holding it within our own minds. So when we've changed that information within ourselves, we create more empowering beliefs, more empowering behaviors. We show up in the world differently. We're able to break through blocks, sabotaging behaviors, even chronic illness and chronic pain, and all kinds of things like that. So it's very much in alignment with what you were saying before about freedom, this idea of freedom. Because for me, since I've been doing this work, I really feel like I've achieved so much freedom. I was very stuck for a long time. I had a lot of anxiety. I was kind of addicted to stress. I was workaholic. I didn't really know why. I was just go, 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 very, very anxious. And when I started to understand why I had those patterns and reframe it at a deep level and kind of release it at a deep level, I really started to experience that freedom, experiencing that freedom. And again, coming home to that true self within. Because, like I said, it's about peeling back those layers, the survival patterns, the false selves, the parts of us that are kind of, creating the undesirable outcomes in our life, and then coming back to that kind of true essence that we have within.
Right. It's true. I heard it recently, something about the finding, it's not really about finding the truth, but removing what's not true, removing the
Yeah,
lies in a way, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And it sounds very gentle to me. I never done it
yeah,
before, but I interviewed a lot of people, and they seem to be people that are very much coming from that place of freedom. And that's how
hmm
I know, because a lot of times I look for the embodiment of the message, like, oh, let me see, like this, the energies and how the person behaves and talks. There's something about it that inspire harmony when we're coming from that place of freedom.
definitely. I mean, to me, it's really important to create a self sense of safety within the body.
Yeah.
When we've experienced traumas and difficult experiences in our lives, we don't feel safe. This is where a lot of our patterns come from. It's a desire to in some way keep us safe. So creating safety within the body, creating that balance, that harmony. And I love it because it combines a kind of top down, bottom up approach. The top down being the mind, the neuroplasticity, the actual, neurology in the brain, and then the bottom up being the somatic techniques, very much,
Mm.
incorporating the body and that kind of wisdom from the body.
Yes. So it is holistic. That's how
Yeah,
we
yeah,
see it,
very.
a holistic approach. And because trauma changed the brain, right, Corinne? And then it makes sense to me that whatever we techniques we will use to reverse that, it would be something that could change the brain again, but in a
Yeah,
way that it can gives us freedom. So that makes so much
yeah,
sense. And the body, yes, right, holds memories. Amazing how I felt that way before. Like the body would experience something like anxiety around certain people that
mm,
displayed the traits of my people who I have had some, let's say, traumatic experience with. And
yeah,
then, but the mind it couldn't recognize any of that. So it was kind
hmm
of free of negative thoughts or connection with the
yeah,
body and its expression in the moment. So I was just always wondering why, how come the mind and the body, they are not connected? It still happens sometimes where the body will respond to something that I don't even know why, and I have no idea. So would you say
yeah.
that there was a suppressed memory?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all the way to do it's all about how we represent our memories.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks a memory is a visual or a movie, but
Yeah.
actually a lot of the time we don't have visuals or movies. They might have been blocked out of our conscious awareness, again, in order to kind of keep ourselves. But the memories, in fact, are the messages from the body. So the memories are, there was a lady that I worked with recently, and she had a trigger at work with the way someone spoke, and she said, I cannot shake this off. It was so strong, so intense. It lasted for a week, but it was just someone at work. And when we traced it back in the session, and we kind of, it's about finding that thread and going back to the past and piecing things together, we realized that the way he spoke, it was reminding her exactly of her dad, like what you were saying then. And then there was a lot of underlying issues to do with that, and even a whole layer of grief that we uncovered because she'd lost her dad. And we very much worked with, because she didn't have the conscious memories, we completely worked with the body, you
Yeah.
know.
Ah,
And in FasterEFT, we kind of asked the question, how do you know something's bothering you? Is it a feeling? Is it a sensation? Is it a sound, a memory? It can even be a smell. Some people, certain smells will trigger a memory, a taste even. So it's all about how the mind and body is representing that memory.
yeah. How amazing, Corinne. I love that.
Mm,
I know it caught
yeah.
my attention immediately when I spoke to somebody here about this somatic healing.
hmm
And I remember thinking this way, I had a lot of experience with doing Reiki or massage therapy, and
hmm
the body would just do things that the mind could conceive, like, why is it
Yeah,
shaking, why is it doing this and that, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
nobody could really explain. The massage therapist couldn't know, I think. You see, that then I would need somebody like you, like a therapist, to
yeah,
kind of interpret those messages. But
yeah, absolutely.
it's fascinating to me, um, how it works, how everything is connected, and sometimes the mind will try to protect us, the brain will protect us,
Yeah, yeah.
certain experiences. That's incredible. So let me see. I had some too many questions. You mentioned limiting beliefs before. So how do we learn to identify those limiting beliefs? what are the, yeah, actually, I would love to know actually the best way to know when we need therapy, when we need help.
Yeah, I guess when you, I mean, a lot of people are going through life with a lot of problems, but they don't really feel ready.
Yes.
So I guess it's just when you feel
Mm,
ready to
yeah.
finally have that help and you need that support, and it's a very kind of personal thing. But yeah, if you're struggling through life and you're very much in survival mode, you've got a lot of kind of limiting patterns, maybe things like anxiety or depression, sabotaging behaviors, and you just feel like you're struggling, in life. This is what a lot of my clients say. I feel like I'm doing my best, but I can't keep seem to get past this feeling like I'm always struggling, feeling like I'm in a survival mode. And again, they're operating from patterns that are kind of out of the conscious awareness. I'm trying to form these new habits, but then I'm sabotaging it with this pattern or that pattern. So I think when you have these kind of behaviors and patterns that are kind of getting in the way of your life and not letting you really move forward, that's really the time when you should kind of seek support and guidance with therapy or coaching.
Yeah, and usually it happens. You would common sense would expect that, right? But some people with
Hmm.
addiction, they actually don't. They keep going with that pattern to the point of
Yeah,
self-destruction, and somebody else
yeah,
needs to help them because they're not able to see clearly. I love what
yeah.
you said about when I asked that question, when do we know what the signs that we need help? And then you said, when we feel ready, right? When we,
Hmm.
that's a beautiful answer because it's true. Uh, we never know. Life is such a mysterious happening that we never know why certain things are happening the way they're happening, right?
Yeah, and I do believe in kind of divine timing and things like that. I mean, for myself, when I had a lot of anxiety throughout my whole life, and the first few years of my healing journey, where I had a lot of kind of chronic health issues, um, I wasn't ready to do the deep work that I've done the last couple of years with FasterEFT. I mean, I was always looking for something. I tried so many. I was doing nutrition, even plant medicines and things like that, but
Yeah.
I'd never really gone to a therapist or delved into past experiences and things like that. And I didn't really consciously think, oh, it's because I'm not ready, but I just obviously wasn't. And it actually took me to a rock bottom. I don't believe you always have to get to that rock bottom. You can be aware and just realize, okay, I need help. But it took me a while before I was really ready. And again, some people, they're not really ready to dive into that kind of inner world straight away. It can take time. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to kind of
Mm,
face certain things, face a lot of the things that have happened in our lives, and this kind of, I guess, the kind of shadow self.
yeah. Thank you for doing that, Corinne.
Mhm.
And you went all the way. You healed yourself. You embarked on that journey, and then you're just helping others to do the same. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful thing. It's truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Mhm.
for being you. And I see that all the time, and I'm always like, oh my God, I wish everybody would be like that,
Mhm.
in the entire world. But it's just a wish, a longing, I guess. So talk to me about I know you offer one-on-one coaching sessions, and you call them transformational coaching, emotional well-being, mindset empowerment, and mindfulness.
Mhm.
Do you also work with groups online and offline, or just in person?
I don't at the moment, but I am planning to start some group work next year. I'm going to be doing a online kind of tapping faster EFT group. I'm also planning, which I'm really excited for, doing a local to me a women's monthly women's circle.
Yeah.
Something I've been really called to do for quite some time is really kind of creating community and bringing women together. So both of these things are going to be starting at the beginning of next year.
Okay, wonderful. That will be on your website. I have your website
Yeah,
here.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Corinne-elizabeth.com. That will be
yeah,
under the podcast note of the video interview notes.
brilliant. Yeah.
And then, did I forget to ask you any questions about the techniques you use? Oh yeah, you did mention. I made a note here about under inner child healing, the 7 pathways to healing and nurturing your own inner child. And then I think you talked about all reparenting yourself, rewriting limiting beliefs. We talked about this already.
Mhm.
Validating your emotions, forgive, seek support. Now, I guess that's the question
Mhm.
came from there. Seek support. So how do we know? And that was a question,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
open
Mhm.
question. So, there's anything that you'd like to mention about your work, Corinne, that I didn't ask, questions that I didn't ask or I didn't make notes about? Because I do have a few more questions for you, the ending questions. But before that,
Yeah. In terms of my work, no, not really. I think, like I said, I treat everyone that comes very differently depending on what's going on for them. I have an integrative approach, so I combine many different techniques. I use the FasterEFT, the somatic
yeah,
approach is very much a big part of it,
yeah,
using the intelligence of the body and various different techniques to kind of create that safety within the body, which is very, very good for also regulating the nervous system. I also incorporate kind of well-being coaching, mindfulness, and as you've said, the inner child work. And again, I've said this before, my goal is really helping people to find that true self.
mm,
Because from that place, we can really find out what are our desires. A lot of people don't actually really know what they want in life. They know what they don't want. I don't want to have this pain anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. So part of my work is really helping them, peel back the layers of kind of what isn't working for them, but also helping them and guiding them to find out what it is they truly want, and helping that achieve that.
yeah. And that really, like I said, off record, caught my attention. The finding your true self, however
Mhm.
it comes to be, right? In my case, spirituality.
Yeah,
But we have so
yeah.
many other ways to get there. So before we say goodbye for today, I have this question that I ask everyone. I'll ask you too. Um,
Mm.
if life had one purpose only, what would that be? What comes to mind?
I would say it's to grow, to learn, to evolve, to really experience it all
Mm,
and
yeah,
to really learn from that, to grow from that and, evolve and grow. And again, it comes back to the true self. I think it's also about finding that true self within us as well. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I thought. It was like, oh my God, the
Mm.
answer will be the same, probably the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense
Yeah.
to me. And I also ask another question. I'll
Mhm.
ask you too. What three experiences you wish everyone to have before they die, before they lose the body?
Okay, great question. So I guess my first one will stay along the same theme of what we've talked about. The first one would have to be um, finding their true self
Yeah.
and living the truest life in alignment with what they really truly want. The second one I would say is to experience love, love for people, from other people, and I think most importantly, self love, because to me, that's the most important love, type of love that there is. The third one I would say,
Yeah.
adventure and experiencing life, having fun, being playful, coming back to the inner child, really living life and experiencing new things.
Yeah, beautifully
Yeah.
said. I love your
Yeah.
wisdom, Corinne. It's truly beautiful. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you so much for doing what you
Oh,
do.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's just truly, truly beautiful. Thank you again.
Mhm.
And we'll talk soon. Bye for now, Corinne.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much. Thanks.
you.
Bye.